Hello, welcome to the live. So, today is a new one. It is book mail. Yay! So, I got these three and also an ebook, like a PDF version. So, pretty much what happens, and I've been receiving books for some time now. This is the first time I'm doing a video about it. I should have thought of this earlier because some of the podcast episodes were books that were sent to me. So, these are books that were sent to me by either the authors or authors also have like book publicists that try to like promote their books. So essentially I get sent books with the hope and I guess the potential that they may end up being on the podcast. And so I'll go through the books and then I'll show you the ebook as well that I had received. Just so you can get an idea of just like kind of what it's like and like the different types of books I receive. Essentially, my podcast is based off of mental health and mental illness topics. So that combined with the fact that I'm also a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm a licensed therapist. So I read the books first. So part of like my vetting process with this is I actually read the books in full before I move forward with inviting someone like the author to be a guest on the podcast. And there's a lot of reasons that kind of go behind that. I mean, I think one, I want to make sure it's actually mental health and mental illness related, and or at least there's some topics about it within there, since that is the whole part, like mission of the podcast, is that like it is about mental health and mental illness topics. But two, I also, and this is not so much for like the self-help or the memoirs, this is mainly for like the fiction, but I will make sure it is an accurate depiction of either the mental health or the mental illness struggle, and what it's like. I think mental illness, mental health is along a continuum, right? There's a lot of like variation in it. However, I want to make sure it's a true representation of a possibility, like in some of these fiction books, because if not, like if it's an inaccurate representation or there's just things that aren't, too correct, I mean, it will still be like, not everything's like a fairy tale, but I just want to make sure that the representation is accurate, because if not, that's how misconceptions get made, and then also which can perpetuate stigma. And the whole purpose of the podcast is to decrease stigma about mental health and mental illness. So it's mainly the fiction ones that I kind of read for that, but either way, like I read through all the books. So if you've ever listened to an episode of the podcast, know that I read the whole thing, and I felt like it was something that the podcast listeners would benefit from. So that's one part. The other part of the whole reading thing is, me reading the whole book, is that I'm a therapist. So I think there is also a lot of weight in what I am saying. Hey, like, this is a book, go check it out. Like, I really like it. Like, I'm also putting kind of my professional side of me also in the mix of it, because I am a therapist. Like, that is my full-time job. So that also carries a lot of weight, which is why I read the whole book. I think I've received books, or before receiving books, I've received like the media kit, and those are great. Like, I've seen some really amazing media kits, and I think it's a nice like summarization and all that, and there's a lot of stuff within the media kit. But either way, I'm gonna read the whole book. So usually what happens is I will get contacted, like an author or the book publicist will email me or send me a message through the Be on the Podcast contact page of booksbetweensessions.com, saying, hey, like, there's this book, like, just kind of doing a little blurb about it, and like how they kind of want me to check it out or read it with the potential of being on the podcast. And I always respond and I say, great, love to check it out. I do read the books in full though first, so do you want me to buy it? Because I'll go buy it. Or do you want to send me a copy? And that's with the disclaimer that by sending me a copy of the book, it actually expedites the whole process, because I have a long list of books. It's like its own TBR list for potential books to read, to potentially be on the podcast. So that means that it'll be a lot longer till I get to those books, right? I mean, the list is running. There's so many great books out there. There's ones that I'm just personally interested in too. So oftentimes what usually happens is they end up just sending me the book because they want it to be expedited. And that's great, because it takes away a few of the steps. So then all I have to do is just open the book and read it. So I'm going to go through the books that I received, the 3 hard copies, and then the PDF as well. So I knew about these. I knew these were coming. I'm sure there'll become a day when I'm just kind of getting books too. I haven't spoken with them yet. And that's also cool and fine. Like, people don't have to necessarily like send me an email or message first before sending me a book. If they feel like it's something they want me to check out, then I say just go ahead and send it. So if you're an author or a book publicist or whoever, and you're interested in being on the podcast, you can send me a message, or you can just mail the book to my P.O. Box address, which is on the booksbetweensessions.com website. So this is one. Cover the address here. This is one of them that I received. I checked it out. I knew this was coming. And so this one is from Kevin Peterson, licensed marriage and family therapist. If you saw the reading wrap-up, the last reading wrap-up, I read his other book, which is actually right above my head up there, which is Chronic Hope, Families and Addiction. And he gave me a heads up that he was going to send me his other book, which is this, which is Chronic Hope, Parenting the Addicted Child. So the Families and Addiction one is more for like families, kind of loved ones, spouses. And this one is more specific to like if you're a parent or a caregiver. So like, and you're a parent or a caregiver of like a child, or usually a teen or adolescent that might be struggling with addiction. So I knew he was going to send me that. So this is kind of a shorter one to the other one. So I'm excited. And also, he's going to be on the podcast. So tomorrow, if you want to listen to him talk and then talk about his other book, definitely check out the booksbetweensessions.com website tomorrow, or all the podcast platforms, including YouTube. So, what does this say? Parenting the Addicted Child is a compelling legacy of Peterson's personal journey through addiction and his ultimate resolve to share the gift of recovery with addicted families through the role of a psychotherapist. Articulated in a direct and resourceful manner, Peterson's book offers a roadmap for parents in despair while fostering hope of systematic change and possibility. So that's what this is about. And I'm excited to read this. So, yes, so that is a Chronic Hope, Parenting the Addicted Child. Okay. So we got 3 more. And FYI, I think one of them's a nonfiction, one of them's a fiction, and then the ebook's actually a graphic novel. So hang on tight for that. So there's this one. This is a thick book. And this one, I remember the person's, the author's, I think, book publicists reached out to me. So David Rickman, Cycle of Lives. 15 people's stories, 5,000 miles, and a journey through the emotional chaos of cancer. So this one sounds really interesting. I'm really excited to read this one too. Something different. And so I guess what it was is, he set out on a bike ride from LA to Florida to New York, interviewed 15 people across the country whose lives had also been irrevocably changed by cancer, either as patient survivors, loved ones, or caregivers. Hearing their moving stories, which were influenced by many different forms of past and present trauma, transformed my cycling odyssey into a journey of emotional self-discovery as I relived the chaos and emotional upheaval of cancer through them. So from the man who found true love after losing his soulmate to cancer, to the elite athlete who had to reckon with his all-star body finally letting him down, to the medical oncologist who cares as much about her patients as she cares for them. So this will be an interesting one, actually. So it's like he did like a cross country like journey and like talked to different people who in some way or another had been touched by cancer. So this is interesting. So this is David Rickman, Cycle of Lives. So excited to read that. The next one is like a giant envelope. So this one is 2 books. What does it say? Flamevine, His Voices, Charles Porter, and then it says, thought you might want to see this one too. It's the prequel, Shawcross. So this one, I think, is a nonfiction. So it's from the author. I dedicated my books in this series to the Hearing Voices Network because I am a member of that same whole. That's really interesting. Okay. So it says, born predisposed to a split mind or what medicine calls schizophrenia. He is nevertheless high functioning and appears normal like many people with hallucinations. Through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, Aubrey walks over the music, drugs, love, life, impressionism, and upsurges of gorgeous, accompanied by occasional founders when a figure called the Slim Hand reads his mind. So this is interesting. Okay, so this is more about like schizophrenia and like hallucinations. So I think these are fiction. I think so. So these will be interesting reads. I haven't read too many nonfictions on schizophrenia. I did read one that was a YA that I did have on the podcast, I think in 2019. So, which became a movie, Words on Bathroom Walls. So this is those. So this is the 2 nonfiction books. So that'll be interesting. So thank you, Charles Porter. The last one is a graphic novel. So I'm going to show you it because I got like the PDF. Let's see if this will, hello. Everyone is a Tulip. So I'm actually currently reading this. I'm like halfway through. And so this is a graphic novel I received from the illustrator, actually. And says the book follows a young woman who moves to Los Angeles in order to pursue a career as an actress, but gets sucked up into the high stakes of world internet performance art. Yes, this is a real thing. So this is from Dark Horse. So the illustrator Nicole, she's also been the artist of like other comics, Shadow of the Batgirl, Gem and the Hologram. So this will be interesting. So like I said, I'm about halfway through this, and I will say like the illustrations are really cool. Like I really love the colors. But again, I'm just seeing like, does this fit within kind of the mental health, mental illness realm, since that's what the podcast is for. But either way, I wanted to do this live just to give them a shout out because people take their time and money to send me these books. So if you jumped on late, then these are the books. So it looks like I got 4 plus the PDF ebook of Everyone is a Tulip. So thanks everyone who sent me these books. I definitely have a lot of reading to do. And if you are an author or, book publicist, or if you know someone who is and they have a book, let them know about Books Between Sessions, and that, like, you know, I do accept books, and everything I read has the potential to be an episode on the podcast. Also, because I know there's so many books out there that are really good, if you have any book suggestions or book recommendations that you would like on the podcast, you know, send me a DM, email me, you know, whichever, because I know there's some really great books out there. And although I have my list, like, I do want to know what my followers and podcast listeners actually want to hear about on the podcast, because like I said before, 2021 is pretty much strictly dedicated to having author interviews. So the cool thing is, you know, if I read the book and I'm like, yeah, like, this is definitely mental health, mental illness related, and I reach out to the author, then you'll get to hear the author talk about themselves and their book, which is pretty neat. And I'm having a lot of fun talking to all these different authors. And the books range. I mean, some are written by therapists, so they're self-help, but I've also had a few on that wrote memoirs. One of them was a graphic novel memoir that was like historical fiction. I've had fiction authors on. I'd like to also really get like a children's author on. I've done a solo episode on children's books when I first started the podcast, but I think it'd be really cool to have the authors on. So it can go from children to middle grade to YA to adult, and all the different genres, essentially, as long as it's, you know, within the mental health and, you know, mental illness realm. And I think mental health definitely covers a wide piece of that. It's hard for books to not touch on mental health, honestly, because it's unlike, like, mental illness. Like, not everyone has a mental illness, like depression, anxiety, PTSD, whichever, but everyone has a certain level of mental health. And mental health is how fulfilled you are in life, how you get through or you deal or are confronted with challenges and struggles. So the mental health realm is like pretty wide. But let me know anyways, because I'd love to know like what my listeners and followers actually want to hear on the podcast. I mean, I can throw all my stuff out there, but you're the listeners, so I would like to know what you'd like. So hopefully this was, I don't know, kind of informative or helpful, something different. I'll do these every once in a while. Like I said, I wish I did this before, because some of the podcast episodes have been books that were actually sent to me by the authors or their publicists. So this will probably be, as others, a series that I'll do every few months, once I get like a good collection of books. So hopefully you have a good rest of the weekend, TGIF. The next live will be the reading wrap-up. And like I said, the episode with Kevin Peterson, if you want to listen to it, you can tomorrow. It was actually expected to go out later this month, but Libsyn wanted it out before. So due to some like technical snafu, even though it was scheduled to go out the last Tuesday of this month, Libsyn and the universe said, no, we'd like it out now. So it's out. So I'll be promoting that tomorrow. It's a really, really good episode talking about substance use and family. So definitely check it out. And if you haven't already, definitely follow this Instagram, follow the YouTube, Books Between Sessions. And then, of course, we're also on all the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, everything. Pretty much everything. Wherever you listen to podcasts, like, we're there. So yeah. So have a good weekend, and thanks for watching. Bye.